Hey everyone, and welcome to another Yogi Misfit session. I'm Danny Pumploon, and I'm your host. Today we have Silvie on the show. Silvie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So for the listeners out there, Silvie and I work together at Yoga Tree, and believe it or not, I've never met her in person, but I have communicated with her via email, and I hear really great things about her, and from everyone in the community, people were just giving a really good buzz, and she has some really good stuff to say. On her social media about yoga. So that's why I decided to have her on the show today. I'm excited to have you, Silvie.
Excited to be here on your show.
Now, Silvie, how do I say your last name? I don't want to butcher it.
Hibdon.
Say it one more time.
Hibdon.
All right, you heard it from her. Well, awesome. Let's get right to it, Silvie. So, why yoga?
Why yoga for me? In short, because yoga helps me be a better person. It helps me have a better life. And I got into yoga when I was in college. I had lower back issues. And yoga was helping me, but also I realized that I really enjoy yoga just for what it is. And I just never stopped.
Yeah.
And I just started doing yoga when I was 22 and continued doing yoga until this day. And I feel like I will just do yoga until the day I die.
I think it's funny that a lot of us get into yoga because of an injury or, it's not like our first go-to. We end up, like getting, like I said, we end up getting hurt or something happens that, we end up having to go to it and then fall in love with it.
Yes, exactly. That's what happened to me. And when I was on my yoga mat, I feel like I can be myself. I felt very happy. I felt like I don't need anything else in that moment. And it was really a profound shift in my life. And then I just kept doing it and never stopped.
That's awesome. I love it. Where did you start practicing yoga at?
I started practicing yoga in the Czech Republic. I'm from the Czech Republic. And the last year I was in college, and then I basically finished my last semester on Friday, and on Monday I was in the United States. And I started going to yoga studios here in the Bay Area, and just started going there on a regular basis.
So
So
you
yeah.
you didn't skip any time. You were like you graduated and said bye.
Yes.
Did you know you wanted to come to the Bay Area specifically because of yoga, or you just wanted to come out here?
Uh, well, I spent some time on the East Coast the year before I came to San Francisco, and I wanted to explore the West Coast. I didn't know anything about San Francisco. I just wanted to be in the city on the West Coast. And, when I came here, I was living with a family, and they knew that I like yoga and I like healthy foods. And the father was like, yeah, Sylvie, you're going to like it here.
Awesome. I have to ask you, Sylvie, is there a yoga scene in the Czech Republic? Is it as big as it is here in San Francisco, or even in the Bay Area, or I don't know, what's it like out there?
So when I left, there was no yoga scene. There were some random classes. Me and my friend found a class that was in this community center. It was once a week. It was donation based, and it was fun. We went once a week, and then just hung out afterwards. So no, there was not really any yoga scene, but I actually went to the Czech Republic 3 years ago to teach workshops, and I was in Prague, and I was very pleased to see that the yoga scene, if you will, has evolved, and there's a lot of studios. a lot of place to practice, and they offer classes in Czech and in English.
Oh, wow. So the classes are half like in Czech and English together, or they offer separate classes? Some are English and some are Czech.
Yeah, they offer separate classes, and most of the instructors can't speak English. So if they happen to have an English-speaking person in the class, it's not a problem.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. I've always thought about that. Like, how would it, what if I went to a yoga class in, let's say, I don't know, China? I guess I could sit in the back and follow along, but it kind of be cool because, the movements are very dynamic and you can pick it up as a practitioner. You can kind of see what's going on, but it'd be kind of cool to just kind of sit back and get lost and find your own rhythm.
Yeah, I actually had a funny moment because they told me that I can teach yoga in English if I want to. But I said, no, this is my native language. I will teach it in Czech. But then I realized that because I learned yoga in English, I didn't know how to teach it in my native language. So I spent 2 weeks translating everything back to my native language, which
Well,
is ridiculous.
and I know that actually I had this happen like I don't know, it was a few months ago. Someone actually took my class and they were from Mexico, and we were speaking Spanish because I speak Spanish fluently. And when I started the class, I started teaching in English, and she was catching on. And in the middle of class, she actually like asked what I had called out for full wheel, and she's like, "What's full wheel?" And I was like, "Oh, it's." And I demoed it, and she's like, "Oh no, we call this blah blah blah," or it was something completely different. I don't know. I don't remember what the word was, but it was something completely different. So I'm sure that some of the postures, how in English we take the postures and give them names,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that they give them different names in Czech as well.
I had few moments, yes, definitely. And it was about the wheel because I said wheel and they didn't know what it was, and I'm like, so what is it? And they're like, it's the full bridge.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. I want to say like the girl called it like the crescent of the moon, or I don't know. It was something. I feel like we always have names for all yoga postures.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely had a couple moments where I just didn't know the pose and they had to help me. Um, but talking about the language, when I came to the United States, I could speak English, but I didn't know all the words, so I
Mhm.
actually did have to follow along.
Right.
When I started yoga here, and sometimes I had no idea what the teacher is saying. And I have to say, despite me not really understanding everything, I was able to experience yoga and just really feel yoga and feel the benefits. Um,
It's cool because I mean it really gets you out of your head where you're not focusing, too much on the words. You're just really dropping into what your body is doing.
yes, exactly.
Awesome, Sylvie. Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show is actually I was poking around on Facebook, and for everyone listening out there, Sylvie had posted this really cool post, and it said, why can yoga be intimidating? And as I read it, I was like, oh my God, that's such a great topic for the show. And what better person to talk about it than you, since it was fresh and on your mind. So I want to ask you, Sylvie, why can yoga be intimidating outside of the language stuff we just talked about? Or maybe include the language stuff we just talked about.
Yeah, yeah. So the more I started teaching yoga, the more I started hearing from people that yoga is intimidating for them.
Mhm.
And I have to say that, I've had some moments in my practice where I was scared, or there are some poses
Mhm.
that scare me personally. For example, handstand in the middle of the room.
Mhm.
Um, but I never found yoga intimidating. And I really wanted to know what scares people. And that's why I put the question on Facebook, and that's why I keep asking people around. And first of all, I want to acknowledge that fear is a powerful emotion, right?
Right.
And it can we can make it or break it. Like we are fearful or we feel the fear and we can just leave the yoga room and just never come back. It can be that powerful.
Right.
And I just want to take a moment and pause and really like dig a little deeper and see like what is behind that fear.
Sure.
And sort of dissect it and find a way out of the fear, right? And I kind of lumped the comments into two categories.
Mm-hmm.
And the first category is, I'm not flexible, therefore I cannot do the pose.
Right.
Therefore, I am bad. I'm not good, right? So there's that logic, if you will, that people have in their minds that really stops them. And
was that your number one when you posted that? Was that like one of the number one things that came up? Was that I'm not flexible?
Yeah, and I get that a lot from many people that like I'm not flexible, I cannot do the pose, therefore, I feel intimidated, and because I'm not good at it, I'm just not gonna do yoga.
Right. I think it's funny when people say that, when people are like, oh, well, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible. And in my mind, I'm like, well, that's like saying you can't eat because you're hungry. Like
Yeah.
it's I mean that's why we go to, that's one of the reasons why we go to yoga is, definitely to have more, flexibility in the body, and we tend to get the physical health attributes and benefits of it, on top of all the other amazing things that happen, to the mind and to I don't know, just to be able to in that space, so much happens,
Yeah. And I thought about this a lot, and what I would like to encourage people to do here is to shift the point of view, right?
Right.
Instead of saying yoga is intimidating or I cannot do this, what about if we say I am scared or I feel the fear, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because when you say that thing is intimidating, there's not much you can do. But if you say I am scared, you put the responsibility on yourself. Means that you can also do something about that.
Right.
You are in this powerful position that I can actually change my relationship to fear.
Right.
And that gives you the power to really create change.
That's good. I've never heard that. I've never even thought about it that way myself. Because there's definitely a few things that I think, oh, well, that's a little intimidating. But you're right. If you actually acknowledge the emotion, or even welcome it in and sit down with it for a little bit, you have the power to get to know it, to explore it, and then when you get to know it, you can say, okay, thank you very much, I'm done with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. What other answers did you get on why yoga can be intimidating?
The other common answer is people compare themselves to others.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm a guy and there's a girl and like she can do stuff I cannot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Or, there is a person and they like have, like shorts and tank top and they look really hot and I don't. And, it's just about the skill level, comparing themselves on the skill level, the way other people look. And that comparison really just makes us feel intimidated and fearful, and we kind of shrink, right? Um,
So
and
what do you say to those people? What do you say to those people that that come up with that, that, hey, I am intimidated because, there's the person next to me that can do all these postures, and there's the person in the class that, looks a certain way. How do you encourage those people to come to class, or to find a practice of their own?
yeah, so there are two things I would like to say. The first one is having self-compassion for yourself and self-acceptance, and just acknowledging this is where I am in the moment, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a room for growth, and if I stick to this, I can get better, or I can do the poses better, if you will.
Right.
When I started doing yoga, as you know, I came to this country and I didn't really understand much, and I was super confused. And I was super tight. If we understand my flexibility. Like, I was grateful for being able to touch my knees.
Right.
And I'm not exaggerating. And I've never done any other sports, so my body was just like super skinny and weak. And I saw this woman in the back of the room, and she was just graceful and beautiful, and she just knew like how to do everything. And I just kind of zoomed in on her, and I was like, oh my God, she can do all these things, and it's so beautiful, and she's so graceful. Like, I want to be like her. And I just put my mat next to her mat, and I would just do what she was doing, and I was trying to do it like she was doing it. And what I'm trying to say here is that I was inspired. I let myself be inspired by her, and let that inspiration drive me to really show up every week and do my best, and sort of like putting aside all the things I cannot do, but just kind of focusing on like what I'm aspiring to be like.
I like that, and I like that you really tied in. You not only were looking at someone that you were looking up to, and you wanted to your practice to look like, but you also said the key component there was that you were compassionate, and you had that self-compassion, and you were okay with where your body was, being able to just touch your knees, and eventually building up further and further and further, and having something that you wanted to look like.
Yeah, exactly. And I was aware that like I just started doing yoga. Of course, I cannot be as graceful or skilled or toned as the other person who's been doing that for years, right? So I was okay with that. And I knew that if I put my effort in, if I show up, I believed that, I can be that too.
I think we really can't, I think people, that's since we're on the topic, I think that's something that's super intimidating is, like, I will never be able to be like that other person, and I think it's something to remember is the more we put into the practice, the more the practice puts into us. And the other thing is that we have to be really comfortable with, the notion of one day our bodies are just not going to be able to move a certain way, but the practice doesn't stop. Like, the practice actually is there to support us, whether we're working with injuries or, whether we're working with, I don't know, funky stuff that's going on. Like, there are certain things that I just no longer do in my physical practice. But because I've been practicing for so long, like, I'm actually okay with it. Like, I find grace in the way that I am able to move.
Yes, exactly. And just enjoying the process itself, enjoying the journey, right? The exploration that comes with yoga practice.
I think sometimes we get caught up on the end point. There is an end point for sure, but also, in the teachings it does say, hey, there's a lot of hard work you have to do to get here.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. So Silvie, you teach how many classes a week? And, for the people that want to come check you out, where can they find you?
Um, so you can find me at Yoga Works at 6 p.m. on Monday, at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. It's level 1-2 Vinyasa. And then Friday at 4:15 p.m. I teach Vinyasa level 2.
Awesome. And do you have a website people can go look you up at?
Yeah, it's silviehibdonyoga.com.
And if anyone else gets tripped up on the last name like I did, I will actually post that in the comments below or in the links below. And I'll actually tie you into Silvie's social media so you can follow her around as well. She's got some really, really great stuff to say.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Danny.
Silvie, thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you want to say to the listeners before we go?
Well, it was great being on your show, Danny. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say never give up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. Until the next show, we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.